Great Voyage. Top Shikai Ryujin Jakka reigns. Chapter 11. After a few minutes of fighting. Boom. With a loud noise, Aokiji was sent flying, and fell heavily into the ruins, creating a deep pit several meters deep. Ka ka ka. However, soon, with the condensation of a chill, Aokiji reappeared. As a Logia, this damage was nothing at all. However, he was not intact. As he condensed again, a trace of bloodline flowed from the corner of his mouth. Scrub. Bloodline raised his hand to wipe the corner of his mouth. He looked up at the man standing proudly in the sky, and said, "What a strong guy, what a trouble." At this moment, Di Luo was standing above the void, holding a flaming blade, wrapped in flames all over his body, and behind him, a huge fire dragon hovered. Seeing that Aokiji was shot down, Sengoku also stood up. He looked at Di Luo and said, "Who are you guys? What's the purpose of breaking into Marineford?" Di Luo smiled lightly and said, My name is Di Luo. As for the purpose of my coming here, it's very simple." Boom boom boom. At this moment, behind Di Luo, terrifying flames began to rise continuously, and pillars of flame continued to rise on the ground. Boom. Behind him, the powerful flaming fire dragon continued to expand, covering the sky and covering almost the entire Marineford. The terrifying temperature descended, and the void distorted, like the sun falling. Some marines couldn't bear it and were melted directly, and some pirates exploded with a boom. Seeing this scene, Sengoku gritted his teeth and said, "My name is Di Luo, a man who is destined to conquer the world." The flat voice resounded over the entire Marineford. At the same time, this voice quickly spread to everyone watching the Summit War live broadcast. "Here, isn't this guy a marine, is he a pirate? He said he wanted to conquer the world, isn't that the same as Blackbeard? My god, within a day, such monsters appear one after another, what should we ordinary people do? It's over, I feel like the world is going to be chaotic. Who will save us?" Countless civilians saw this scene and sat down on the ground, feeling unprecedented darkness. It turns out that Whitebeard's death does not mean the world is peaceful. It will only make more ambitious guys stand up. In the past, there was Whitebeard pressing, and many pirates dared not make mistakes. Now that Whitebeard is dead, pirates from all walks of life without restraint will definitely swarm out again to compete for that throne. At this moment, people all over the world remembered a name, Di Luo. Ding. You are remembered by the Supreme Powerhouse, Buddha Sengoku, and your prestige value has increased by 4%. Ding. You have been remembered by the Supreme Powerhouse, Aokiji Kuzan, and your reputation has increased by 3%. Ding. You have been remembered by the Supreme Powerhouse, Kazaru Porisalino, and your reputation has increased by 3%. Ding. You are remembered by the Supreme Powerhouse, Akainu Sakazuki, and your reputation has increased by 3%. Ding. You have been remembered by the Supreme Powerhouse, Blackbeard Marshal D. Teach, your reputation value has increased by 4%. Ding. You were. Ding. You were. Ding. You were. Di Luo's system interface started to frantically refresh the screen. In just a few minutes, Di Luo's reputation increased to 375%. That is to say, Di Luo who wants to be here can get 3 energy grants. Reputation System. Version 0.01. Owner. Di Luo. System Ability. Ability granted. Currently available opportunities. 3. Explanation. The higher your prestige is, the corresponding prestige value you will get, the degree of recognition and approval of you by others, the fear, admiration, jealousy, loyalty, etc. of some individuals towards you. All of them can accumulate a certain amount of prestige points, and the more powerful people have various emotions towards you, the higher the prestige points you will get. When the prestige points accumulate enough, you will get a chance to give energy. Ability grant reputation value. 375%. When this value reaches 100%, you will get a chance to grant ability. Currently empowered. Ryujin Jakka. Ability to give. At this moment, Di Luo, who is standing above the void, spoke. Ding. The ability granting begins. A moment later. The ability is endowed. You have obtained the ability, Sage Body Quality. Wood Style Secret Art. The ability has been endowed. You can freely use the abilities of all wood-style secret arts. Buzz. The next moment, some changes occurred in Di Luo's body. Wood-style mystery. Di Luo didn't expect that his second ability would be this, but after all, this ability is still very practical. In contrast, he obtained the sage body quality and inherited a huge amount of chakra, which is so huge that he can use wood-style technique without limit. Continue, empowerment. With a lot of prestige points left to be useless, Di Luo spoke again. Ding. The ability granting begins. A moment later. The ability is endowed. You have obtained the ability Top Conqueror's Haki, and all unlocked the advanced use level. The corresponding moves have also been unlocked. Hoo. A gust of wind blows, and the mighty Haki hovers around Di Luo. At this moment, he is like a bottomless abyss, which makes people full of despair. Continue, empowerment. Di Luo wants to clear all the prestige points at once, so that he can obtain the strongest strength and the strongest combat effectiveness, so that he can stand more firmly. Ding. The ability granting begins. A moment later. The ability is endowed. You have obtained the ability Magnetic Manipulation. The ability has been endowed. You can freely manipulate any metal material within 10,000 meters around you as the center, and the manipulation speed is unlimited. After the reputation points are used up, the system interface slowly disappears. Hoo. At this moment, the strong wind was blowing, and Di Luo was surrounded by flames in the sky. He seemed to have not changed, but he seemed to have changed completely, and his whole body was filled with a powerful and murderous aura. Well, I feel this power. This feeling is so wonderful. Di Luo opened his mouth a little intoxicated, and the next moment, he slowly raised his hand. Let me try it out. Boom. As he raised his hand, countless metal objects rose from the ground. In the entire fortress, everything from warships and artillery shells to small swords and muskets, as long as they are made of metal, began to rise into the air uncontrollably. Pirate, Marineford, you won't allow yourself to be presumptuous. At this moment, a pillar of lava rose from the ground, and a fiery red figure rushed towards Di Luo. Watching Akainu rushing towards him. Holding the flaming blade in his hand, Di Luo grinned and said. Sakazuki, I heard that your lava fruit ability has the title of Devil Fruit's first attack power. Now, let me try to see if it is really as powerful as the rumors say. It is also the ability of the fire element. Is your magma power stronger, or my Ryujin Jakka stronger? I really want to know. Quote. Brush. After finishing speaking, Di Luo raised the sky tower in his hand and swung it towards Akainu. Roar. The next moment, behind Di Luo, hovering in the midair, the huge Yanlong twisted its huge body, and threw itself directly at Sakazuki. Great eruption. Akainu, dressed in a red military uniform, raised his fist, and lava rolled instantly, as he swung his fist violently. Boom. The powerful flame fist swept towards the fire dragon. Roar. The fire dragon roared, opened its mouth, and swallowed the flaming fist in one bite. Boom. A few seconds later, Akainu's flame fist exploded in the fire dragon's body, opening a wide hole. Hey. Akainu grinned, looks like I'm the stronger one. But, the next moment, the wide opening in the fire dragon's abdomen was filled with astonishing flames. This fire dragon was made up of the flames that Di Luo waved the sky, not a living body, even if it was damaged. It will also be instantly restored by the power of fire. Pirates. This scene made Akainu furious. Roar. The fire dragon seemed angry, roared, and rushed towards Akainu, and the huge flame claws grabbed Akainu. Swipe. Akainu dodged to dodge, then opened his posture and roared. The dog bites the red lotus. Boom. I saw that Akainu's arm instantly turned into lava. Then, his lava-formed arm took the shape of a dog's head flowing with lava, and extended its lava-formed limbs. Boom. Akainu's arm, which turned into a huge lava-red dog, kept attacking the fire dragon. Boom. Boom. Above the sky, the two flame abilities collided fiercely, and a terrifying heat wave swept across the entire square. Countless weaker marines and pirates were ignited and exploded under this terrifying temperature. Seeing the tragic deaths of countless colleagues, Akainu didn't intend to stop at all, and the attack became more ferocious. Hoo. Di Luo is holding the flaming sky tower, and he looks at Akainu who is constantly fighting fiercely with the fire dragon. The fire dragon at this moment has absorbed a large amount of Ryujin Jakka, and it is already very powerful. The temperature emitted by its body has already exceeded 1,000 degrees. It is definitely a natural disaster for walking. Ryujin Jakka, after Shikai, whose flames are as hot as the surface of the sun, that's no joke. But even so, if Akainu can't even pass the level of the flame dragon, then he is not qualified to fight against himself. Di Luo also wants to see how tall Akainu's stamina is. Boom boom boom. At the same time, on the ground, countless metal objects controlled by Di Luo all rose into the air and floated directly above Marineford. In the sky above Marineford at this moment, a black metal ruin formed a hill, almost covering the entire Marineford. Ka ka ka. Ka ka ka. Under Di Luo's manipulation, these metals began to recombine continuously. What on earth are you trying to do? Boom. Sengoku jumped onto a high platform, looked at Di Luo in midair, and said, "What is your purpose?" At this moment, he is not sure what Di Luo's ability is. At this moment, Di Luo is like a god, manipulating mountains and seas of metal. He walked in the void, countless metals, under his control, finally formed a huge steel castle. This steel castle gathers the metal of the entire Marineford, and its scale is extremely large, far surpassing ordinary castles. It looks like a mountain. Snapped. Di Luo walked over, stood on the steel castle, looked down, and said, "Sengoku, tell me, if I let this steel castle fall, what will happen to the whole Marineford?" Sengoku's pupils shrank suddenly. If such a huge steel castle just fell from midair, the entire Marineford might really be sunk. If that's the case, then this battle will be the biggest shame in the entire marine history. As the marine marshal of this session, he will leave an indelible mark. Most importantly, this will kill hundreds of thousands of marines below. Sengoku gritted his teeth, and buzz. At this moment, Sengoku's body shone with dazzling golden light, and his body began to swell. In less than a moment, he grew into a golden giant tens of meters high. He looked at Di Luo, raised his hand in a gesture of attack, and said, "I will never let such a thing happen." Hey hey. At this moment, a man with short blonde hair, orange sunglasses, a pink feather coat, cropped pants, and pointed shoes is squatting on the top of a ruined city and looking at the sky. He stuck out his big tongue, wrapped his whole body in armed colors to resist the terrifying temperature, and at the same time said arrogantly, "What a messy guy, where did this monster come from? Why never heard of it before? With such a powerful ability, does this guy want to melt the entire Marineford?" Quote. Who could be so iconic but Don Quixote Doflamingo? Beside him, standing, is a man named Hawkeye, Dracul Mahawk. At this moment, the black knife yeet behind him has been sucked away by Di Luo, with such a powerful ability. Even if it was him, he didn't grab his saber with all his strength. In order not to put himself in danger, he could only let go of his saber. Moreover, even the knife necklace on his chest was sucked away. However, he was very calm, standing there, staring at the sky, and said, "It's because our knowledge is too short. There is no shortage of monsters in this world, and this person is definitely a monster among monsters. In the future, this guy will definitely cause a worldwide sensation." Quote. Where did this guy come out? He had already killed Whitebeard, but now another guy like this came out. It's so hot. A sharp voice sounded. It was Moria who spoke, and he was also looking at the sky. At this moment, he is very miserable, his huge body is almost melted by the terrifying high temperature. If he hadn't protected himself with a fairly good armor, he would have suffered a long time ago. As for the Empress, I'm already chasing Luffy now. And Jinbei also took advantage of this opportunity to flee frantically with Luffy in his arms, preparing to send him away, but all the warships on the sea were sucked into the sky by Di Luo. Where could he go? Boom. At this moment, above the sky, a terrifying flaming fist slammed down on Jinbei. Akainu, this stubborn guy, even though he was in a hard fight, still didn't allow Luffy to escape. This, maybe his belief, was too paranoid. This sudden punch made Jinbei unable to react at all, nor could he dodge it. Akainu, as admiral, wants to attack a Shichibukai, and he is still unprepared. The Shichibukai who wants to run away is still not very strenuous. Akainu. Seeing the magma fist smashing down, Jinbei roared angrily. This punch came too fast, he had no choice but to resist. He hugged Luffy tightly and said, "This old man will never allow Luffy to be hurt again." Boom. Just for a moment. The magma fist pierced Jinbei's blue body in an instant, and with the rest of his strength, he slammed into the unconscious Luffy's chest, leaving a very serious cross-shaped burn scar. If it wasn't for the blue fat man Jinbei, this punch would have directly sent Luffy to meet Ace. Akainu's justice is really persistent, even to the point of distortion. He deserves the title of absolute justice. Di Luo looked at all this calmly, then raised his hand and waved the Tionk in his hand. Roar. Yanlong roared, and launched a more ferocious attack on Akainu. At this moment, Akainu turned back to deal with Yanlong's attack, and he had no time to worry about him anymore. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. Over the entire Marineford, magma erupted, flames raged, and countless magma fell, smashing deep pits one after another. I have to say, the attack power of this fruit is really awesome. As for Di Luo, he doesn't need to do it himself, let's wait until he can pass Yanlong's level. He simply sat on the top of the steel castle, looked at Sengoku who was waiting in battle below, and said with a smile, "Sengoku, I know you are strong, but are you sure you can withstand the fall of a steel castle of more than 1 million tons?" Quote. Sengoku gritted his teeth, although he was very strong, this huge steel castle really fell down. Self-protection is not a big problem, but let him pick it up alone, he can't handle it. Even if he is still angry because of Ace's death at this moment, Garp the Fist, who is standing by and watching the current scene, is willing to take action. The two of them worked together to break up this steel castle. Keeping Marineford for now. However, sitting on the steel castle, this monster-like man who can control flames and metal, how could he just watch them resist the steel castle? Most importantly, if he can form such a steel castle to attack Marineford once, can't he form a second time? If this problem cannot be solved fundamentally, then it is meaningless to just block this steel castle. This guy, who can manipulate such a torrent of steel at will, can only solve the problem if he is completely solved. It is worthy of being called the Sengoku of the Buddha, who sees the problem thoroughly. Indeed, as long as they can't completely decompose these metals, or make these metals disappear completely, then Di Luo can rebuild a new steel city wall. What's more, Di Luo's attack methods are not just these metals. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. On the ground, pillars of flames continued to rise, and the terrifying temperature was melting everything. What exactly do you want? Sengoku stared at the man on the steel castle and finally asked. It's easy. Sitting on top of the steel castle with a flaming blade, Di Luo said, "Sengoku, I want you, confess one thing to the whole world now." On Sengoku's forehead, there was a layer of sweat, and he looked a little shocked, but he still said, "Di Luo, do you want me to admit to the whole world that you are the new emperor of the sea?" Di Luo grinned. It's refreshing to deal with smart people. How about it? As long as you announce to the whole world in front of everyone, I, Di Luo, am the new emperor of the sea. Then, I can consider, this time not targeting you Marine. How? Quote. What Di Luo wants is actually Marine's attitude. Didn't your Marine wipe out a sea emperor with great fanfare? Now, I will let you once again recognize a new sea emperor in front of the whole world. This will not only make the world government proud, but also make many, many marine powerhouses remember themselves more deeply. In this way, Di Luo's name will definitely resound throughout the world. Let his reputation reach an extremely high level. Di Luo's words spread throughout naval headquarters. Everyone looked up and looked at the steel castle that was pressing on top of them. If it fell, they could not avoid it, even Vice Admiral couldn't stop it, let alone these little Marines, all the bottom Marines. At this moment in the bottom of my heart, I am full of fear. Ding. Marine XXX is afraid of you. You got 0.001% reputation. Ding. Marine XXX is afraid of you. You got 0.001% reputation. Ding. Marine XXX is afraid of you. You got 0.001% reputation. Ding. Marine Vice Admiral XXX has feared you. You gained 0.2% reputation. Ding. Marine Vice Admiral XXX has feared you. You gained 0.2% reputation. Ding. Pirate XXX has feared you. You have gained 0.01% reputation. Ding. The mighty pirate Phoenix Marco admires you. You got 2% reputation. Ding. The mighty pirate Foil Vista has admiration for you. You have gained 1% reputation. As everyone's mood towards Di Luo changed. Di Luo's system interface started a new round of refreshing, and his reputation value increased again, and it didn't take long before it rose to 305% again. This time, although it was Blackbeard's conspiracy, now, Di Luo has won. Di Luo's move was a complete slap in the face of Marine. Don't they want to take Whitebeard's head, announce the majesty of their Marine to the world, and increase the reputation of their Marine? What about now? You Marines haven't been threatened by a pirate, and you have to keep silent, or even compromise. Now, what Di Luo did made the Whitebeard group feel a sense of revenge. Therefore, they have a new emotional change towards Di Luo. Hoo. Di Luo stood up, with the coat behind him blowing up against the wind. He held the flaming sky tower, looked at Sengoku, and said coldly, "How? Sengoku. I will give you 10 seconds to think about it now. If you want, just announce it to me. Otherwise, I will force you and everyone in the world to recognize my status. Although I really want you Marine to have an attitude. But if you don't give it, I'll take it myself." Quote. Boom boom boom. At this moment, above the sky, a huge steel fortress floated, making roaring sounds. This huge roar seems to be warning Marine, more like warning the whole world. It is announced that your new Sea Emperor is about to take the throne, and no one can stop him. If this is not enough, then I will add a little more. Crack. Di Luo raised his hand and inserted the sky surrounded by flames on the steel castle. Hoo. As Di Luo inserts Tionk on the steel castle. In an instant, a powerful and terrifying flame rose up in an instant, and then began to spread wildly along the sky. Soon, violent flames covered the entire steel castle. At this moment, that huge steel castle is extremely bright, and the fiery red castle is more like a small sun, mercilessly scorching the entire Marineford. Boom. On the other side, Admiral Akainu was still fighting with Di Luo's flame dragon, and he couldn't get away for a while. The huge Yanlong, with raging flames, is very fierce in attack. Even if it is facing an admiral of headquarters, it still does not lose the wind. He roared and raged over the entire Marineford, sweeping thousands of degrees of terrifying heat. And here, Di Luo waited for a moment. Sengoku still didn't open his mouth. He really couldn't open his mouth. Once she speaks, Marine's reputation will be hit like never before. In the world, countless people will lose trust in Marine, poke their spines. And Marine's domination of the world will be greatly reduced. Since ancient times, since when did Marine recognize the pirate as the emperor of the sea in front of the whole world? Although, the 4 emperors at sea are also Marine's default. But, acquiescing is not the same thing as publicly acknowledging it to the world. What's more, it was announced by a Marine marshal like him, which would cause a huge public uproar and cause Marine's reputation to decline rapidly. Sengoku, it looks like you can't make up your mind. So, can I think that you mean that I need to personally come to win this qualification? No matter. Quote. There is no basis for saying it. Since you want to ascend to the throne, you must have the strength to match it. In that case. Wow. Di Luo left the flaming steel castle step by step, and then walked up to the sky, holding up the sky in his hand. I will show the strength of a king. Boom. The moment Di Luo raised the sky, the entire fiery red steel fortress that covered the sky and the sun made a roaring sound. Di Luo manipulated the flaming steel castle, and began to raise and lift into the sky continuously. 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters. 5 kilometers. Finally, the huge steel fortress stopped at an altitude of 5,000 meters above Marineford. At this height, once the steel castle of more than 1 million tons falls, the consequences will be extremely dire. What's more, there is still a layer of terrifying high-temperature flames wrapped around this steel castle, which is no less than the impact of a meteorite. This is more than Marineford can afford. Then, the first round of attacks is about to begin. Di Luo said slowly. Marine, try to resist. Boom. The huge steel castle trembled slightly. Stop. Stop it. Sengoku's face was covered with cold sweat, and he roared in the end. Oh. Di Luo looked at Sengoku with a half-smile. What? Changed your mind? I can generously give you a chance. Asshole. Sengoku gritted his teeth. If this steel castle surrounded by flames were to fall from a height of several thousand meters, not to mention the entire naval headquarters Marineford would sink. Below, hundreds of thousands of ordinary Marines will also die. This is the real fatal blow to Marines. There is the power of countless new generations of Marines. They are the hope of the future of Marines, and they cannot die just like that. If there is really a sinner, let me be the sinner. Finally, Sengoku had to turn around. Then, face phone bugs in every direction. At this moment, the entire Marineford fell silent. Both Marines and pirates raised their heads and looked at Sengoku. Even Akainu, who was fighting the fire dragon, stopped. Sengoku gritted his teeth, faced the whole world, and said, Whitebeard, one of the original 4 emperors, died in battle. Now, I, Naval Headquarters Marshal Sengoku, hereby announce that the new Emperor of the Sea is the great pirate, Di Luo. After Sengoku finished speaking, he closed his eyes, dispelled the fruit ability, and returned to his original figure, clenching his teeth and clenching his fists. Sengoku. In the ruins on the other side, Garp opened his mouth, and he also clenched his fists, but he didn't really intend to make a move. This moment, all the pictures are focused on the sky, that figure surrounded by flames. All over the world, everyone watching the live broadcast clearly saw this person. Di Luo. The new Emperor of the Sea. On the ground, all Marines stopped breathing, quiet, and the whole Marineford was dead quiet. Marine, even openly recognized the Emperor of the Sea to the whole world, their faith collapsed. What are they fighting for so many years? In exchange for the result, what is it? As the representative of the light, why does Marine recognize the pirate's emperor status? Crack. Some people couldn't bear it, and sat down on the ground. Even though the burned flesh was smoking, they still sat there blankly. It is a terrible thing for a person's belief to collapse. Crazy, must be crazy. Marshal Naval Headquarters actually admitted and proclaimed the new Emperor of the Sea in front of the whole world. That's what a lot of Marine thinks. What's going on? Why did Marine do this? The new Emperor of the Sea. Is the war not over yet? What the hell is Marine doing? They actually admitted to the pirates. Why didn't they resist desperately? It's over, Marine, you actually recognize the status of the pirate's emperor. What will happen to this world? Mom, I'm afraid. Facing the oppressive atmosphere, a child began to cry. Child. Countless people who saw this scene through the big screen were completely desperate, and even their most trusted Marine publicly acknowledged the status of a pirate. Then, how powerful this pirate should be. What should these ordinary people do? In the future, will there really be an Anshung Day? Ding. Countless people have fear, awe, hatred, admiration, jealousy, emotions towards you, and your reputation value has skyrocketed. After system statistics, your reputation value has increased to 10-25%. Ding. Your prestige value exceeds 1000%, and the system functions are further opened. You can unlock your current abilities in 2 stages. At this moment, such a voice came again in Di Luo's mind. Level 2 ability unlocked. Standing proudly in the void, Di Luo's expression changed. So that's how it is. Soon, he understood that the so-called second stage ability was unlocked. Take Ryujin Jakka as an example. Unlocking the second stage ability should be able to activate Ryujin Jakka's Bankai power, Remnant Fire Taidao, right? Di Luo himself didn't expect that he could open Ryujin Jakka's Bankai so quickly. Looks like the decision to earn yourself RP with this summit war was the right one. Shikai's Ryujin Jakka is already quite terrifying. With this ability, he can face any Marine admiral without losing the wind. Now, his Ryujin Jakka is able to go one step further and activate the Bankai. In this way, let alone one marine admiral, even if 3 admirals go together, he is not afraid, and can even kill them all. Directly break the iron law that no one can face the 3 admirals. This is undoubtedly great news for him. No matter how many ordinary abilities you get, it's not as ferocious and powerful as Ryujin Jakka Benkai's 1/10,000th. This is the power that can really make a world evaporate. Compared with Shock Fruit's ideal world destruction, Ryujin Jakka Benkai's remnant fire sword can really do it. System. Unlock Ryujin Jakka's second stage ability for me. At this point, Di Luo directly summoned the system without hesitation and ordered. Once you unlock the Ryujin Jakka Benkai remnant sword. In this world, there is really nothing Di Luo is afraid of, he will be really invincible with this pirate world. There is no single body that can compete with him. The so-called strongest is especially ridiculous in his eyes. Ding. The host consumes 1000% of the reputation points to perform the Ryujin Jakka second stage ability grant. Following the sound of the prompt, the system directly erased Di Luo's reputation points, and then began to grant new abilities. Di Luo stood above the sky, waiting quietly. About 3 minutes later. Ding. Congratulations to host. Ryujin Jakka second stage ability, Bankairamnant Fire Taidao endowment has been completed. From now on, you can perform Ryujin Jakka's Bankai at any time. Hoo. The next moment, a tyrannical energy poured into the Tiank in Di Luo's hand. In an instant, Tiank's sword turned red. Boom boom boom. The next moment, the flame in Di Luo's hand turned blood red, and the already high temperature rose again. Even in the distance, the circling Yanlong gradually became darker from the light red color before. Until, it completely turned into a bright red flame dragon. Boom boom boom. The terrifying temperature emanating from his body continued to spread over Marineford. What? Feeling the change of Yanlong and the sudden rise in temperature, Admiral Akainu was stunned. He looked at the roaring Yanlong in the sky in disbelief. Originally, this Yanlong possessed a high temperature exceeding the temperature of his magma. Now, this Yanlong seems to have evolved, and the temperature he emits is even more unmatched by him. Pirate. Akainu gritted his teeth tightly. Facing such a strong enemy, he finally lost his confidence. Because, he knows very well that now, he can't even pass the flame dragon in front of him, not to mention the source of this power, the new emperor of the sea, Di Luo. Ability can't be compared to hockey, may not be able to compare. If it is said that this kind of character does not have the top hockey, Akainu himself would not believe it. Now, to deal with this guy, he can only rely on the group to attack and fight alone. He knows that he has no hope. Crack, crunch, crunch. At the same time, the huge steel castle suspended at an altitude of 5,000 meters began to turn red and then melted after being scorched by the terrifying heat. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. In an instant, drops of molten iron fell like rain. Ah, ah. As the red molten iron raindrops fell, countless marines and pirates were scalded and rolled all over the ground, howling fiercely. Dang dang dang. And some capable and powerful marines directly flew into the sky, knocking all the spilled hot molten iron into the air, and protecting the ordinary marines below. Marshal. A powerful marine shouted. You. Sengoku looked at all this, staring sharply at the sky. Di Luo, I have clearly announced to the whole world that you are the emperor of the sea as you said. Do you want to break your promise and continue to fight? ... Oh, I'm sorry, I just thought about something else, and for a while, I didn't hold back this power. Di Luo smiled lightly. Since Sengoku had already done what he said, there was no need for him to continue to be tough with Marine. After all, now is not the time to completely break with Marine, because Marine still has a greater use to him. Wow. Afterwards, Di Luo raised his hand and put TNK into the scabbard. Hoo. As the flaming blade was put into the scabbard, layers of hot flames like sea waves began to disappear in the sky. And the fire dragon exuding frighteningly high temperature also began to dissipate as Di Luo put away the sky tower. Finally, the terrifying temperature that seemed to be able to burn everything disappeared. On the ground, both marine and pirate breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, there is only one burning red in the sky, and the huge steel castle continues to float in the sky. Akainu looked at Di Luo, squinted his eyes, and thought, Does this guy's ability come from that sword? At this moment, his mind became active. There seems to be something planned. As for Di Luo, who didn't know Akainu's plan, he stood in the void, raised his hand and pointed at the huge steel castle, and then his mind moved. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. With the continuous sound of huge roars, the red steel castle disintegrated, and then continued to reorganize. After a few minutes, above the sky, a huge steel battleship appeared. This battleship is huge, it can be said to be unprecedentedly large. This battleship looks like an island. This steel battleship is not just a mere appearance, it was carefully forged by Di Luo using his abilities. Di Luo was a battleship fan in his previous life. He has studied this area a lot in his daily life. He knows the detailed structure of many battleships. This knowledge, coupled with his ability to manipulate metal, directly allowed him to forge a huge battleship with his own hands. Then, Di Luo stood on the top of the battleship, and the battleship also slowly fell from the sky. Plop. Finally, this huge battleship fell into the sea in front of Marineford. Crash. Then a huge wave splashed, and a heavy rainstorm directly fell on Marineford. Standing on the battleship, Di Luo said loudly. As the Emperor of the Sea, how can he not have his own battleship? Now, I will borrow some marine materials to cast a battleship that belongs to me. Now, I named my warship Tianmen. From today, I, Di Luo, established Tianmen pirates. Quote. Tianmen. Countless people looked up and looked at the huge and foul warship in the sea, feeling a very depressed emotion. Gudong. Marine swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and looked at the steel battleship the size of an island in disbelief, his whole body was numb. Countless people felt a huge pressure on this battleship. This battleship lingered in the hearts of many people like a nightmare. Although this battleship has no power to start, Di Luo's ability is enough to push it forward. As for the power to drive the battleship, Di Luo can't find it right now, so he can only use his ability to drive it temporarily, and I'll talk about the rest later. Wow! At this moment, a figure jumped out and landed on the shore in front of Di Luo. This is a man wearing a black coat, with short black hair, eagle-like sharp yellow eyes, a short beard, and a black top hat with white fluff. The man looked up, looked at Di Luo on the battleship, and said calmly, "Can you return my sword, sir?" Looking at this man, Di Luo, who was standing on the battleship, smiled slightly. Hawkeye. Dracul Mahawk. Hawkeye didn't speak, just stared at Di Luo. Di Luo smiled, looked at this arrogant man, and said, "Well, the man with the title of world's strongest swordsman, you are qualified, how about it, are you interested in joining my Tianmen pirates?" Quote. I'm not interested. Rather than joining others, I prefer to be alone. Hawkeye said directly, rejecting Di Luo's invitation without hesitation. Di Luo looked at him, smiled slightly, and said, Hawkeye, your kendo talent is indeed very good, and you have already stepped into the master-level kendo domain at a young age, which is enough to show your aptitude. But, have you ever thought that your kendo is far from reaching its peak, or that you have not yet touched the true meaning of kendo? Grandmaster level is only the entry level of swordsmanship, which only shows that you are qualified to practice swordsmanship. Quote. The true meaning of the way of the sword. Hawkeye looked at Di Luo with interest, and said, what is the true meaning of the way of the sword you said? As the strongest swordsman in the world, someone actually talked about the way of swords in front of him, which really made him feel a little novel. He was also curious if the other party would really have any new insights. After all, the person in front of him is the new Emperor of the Sea. Di Luo looked at Hawkeye and said very flatly. The realm of swordsmanship that truly enters the hall should be the realm of no sword. No sword is better than having a sword. Even if the sword is discarded, the human sword is one, playing the command hand, picking flowers and picking leaves, all are sword spirit. Picking every plant and tree at will is a magic weapon, and now, following me, you are qualified to aspire to this realm. Quote. Instead of relying on a so-called supreme sharp knife to run rampant in the world, that knife will only restrict you from taking one step closer to the way of the sword. No sword is better than having a sword. Eagle's eyes moved, he stood in place and pondered for a moment, then raised his hand and shook it lightly. Buzz buzz. The next moment, a transparent sword condensed in Hawkeye's hand. It was a sword made of extremely pure sword intent. Even Di Luo was moved by the sharp aura on this sword. This guy's talent in the way of swords is really terrifying. If it was just a temporary idea, now, Di Luo really wants to take this person under his command. Not bad, the sword intent is substantive. This is the realm that many sword cultivators dream of. Your talent is really good. Di Luo nodded. Hakai looked up at Di Luo, held the sharp sword condensed with pure sword intent, and said, Your Excellency is so confident, so your ability in the way of the sword must be stronger, right? Test me. Di Luo smiled. He looked at Hakai. You are proud, I am more proud than you. Di Luo said directly. You can let go and attack me with all your strength and try to see how good my swordsmanship is. Oh. Hakai's expression changed, a little eager to try. Boom. At this moment, the sword intent on Di Luo's body was stronger than Hakai's. On Di Luo's body, a terrifying sword intent soared into the sky, rushed out of Marineford, and opened a huge gap in the clouds above the sky. The sky at this moment is covered with dark clouds. It seems that a heavy rain is about to hit. Also, it is strange that the sky does not change under the terrifying temperature of Di Luo. However, the billowing dark clouds condensed in front of him dispersed directly after Di Luo's sword intent soared into the sky, and the sky cleared up again. At this moment, everyone was staring at Di Luo intently. It turns out that this person is not only powerful, but also has such a terrifying talent for swordsmanship. Boom boom boom. The sword intent on Di Luo's body seemed to have no end, and it surged crazily. Obviously no sword was drawn, but by Di Luo's side, flying shadows of sword aura appeared in the void. Keng 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 keng. Huh. Hakai was surprised to find that the blade of the sword that he had just condensed was trembling, as if he was being pulled by something and wanted to fly out. At this moment, he finally felt the terror of that man in the sky. In fact, not long ago, Di Luo's kendo was at the same level as Hakai's, and he was in the realm of a kendo master. But just now, the moment Di Luo obtained Ryujin Jakka's second stage Benkai ability, Remnant Fire Taidao, the moment a powerful force rose in his body, he had an epiphany. At that moment, his kendo realm directly broke through. From the master of swordsmanship, directly step into the ranks of great masters of swordsmanship. From the realm of one sword, to the realm of 10,000 swords. As Di Luo raised his hand slowly. Buzz buzz. Buzz buzz. Buzz buzz. In the entire sky, transparent sword blades began to appear, and the sharp and murderous aura filled the entire Marineford. Densely dense transparent sword blades spread over the entire battleship. How about it, Hakai, why don't you try to attack? Di Luo said with a smile, looking at Hakai. Wow. Hakai waved his hand, released the sword intent and blade in his hand, and said, I'm not your opponent. Is this really the realm of swordsmanship? Di Luo looked at him. The way of swords you know is too insignificant. That's because the way of swords in this world is not top-notch. And what you see, even the kendo I use now, is just an introduction. How? Are you interested in following me and pursuing a higher kendo together? Quote. Hakai, as the strongest swordsman in the world, has an unimaginable dedication to the way of the sword. If it weren't for this, he wouldn't be known as the strongest. In the past, he thought that he had condensed the black sword and had already reached the pinnacle of swordsmanship. But now it seemed that he was just getting started. At this moment, the long-lost blood in Hakai began to boil. So, he looked at Di Luo and said, It is the greatest instinct of a swordsman to be able to pursue a higher realm of swordsmanship. If following you will allow me to see a higher realm of swordsmanship, then I, Dracul Mahak, will follow you. Hehe, you won't regret this decision of yours. Di Luo smiled. Come on, my first crew member. Swipe. The next moment, Hakai jumped onto the huge battleship. And Di Luo also has his first crew, Eagle Eye. Dracul Mahak. I didn't expect that Mahak would join the pirates. On the ruins in the distance, Doflamingo said, but yes, Di Luo is too strong. Joining his pirate team may be a wise choice for Hakai. After all, the sky will change soon. Di Luo, this guy who came out of nowhere is really a monster. Can he have the ability to manipulate fire and metal at the same time? Moreover, he seems to be a great swordsman that is not inferior to Hakai. Brother Ming squatted on the ruins, looked at Di Luo on the huge battleship, and said with a sinister smile. What kind of storm will the Tianmen pirates cause in New World? The relationship between the Marine, the Revolutionary Army, and the four emperors was inherently unstable. Now, this ridiculously strong guy has replaced Whitebeard, who has long lost his fighting spirit, as the Sea Emperor of New World. Also, I can tell he's not like Whitebeard, he's an ambitious guy. The first one recruited Hawkeye, the strongest swordsman in the world. In the future, will the world be as stable as before? Hehehehe, I am really looking forward to it. Quote. Gia 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 Gia. On the other side, Moria, who struggled to get up from the ruins, also looked at the huge battleship in the distance, gasped heavily, and said, "Kill, kill, the more powerful you kill, the stronger I will become. In the future, I will definitely have a seat in this sea." Farther away, Jinbei hugged Luffy and was lying on the ground. He was seriously injured and almost passed out. Not long ago, in order to protect Luffy in his hand, he forcibly took a blow from Akainu. That blow almost penetrated his chest, causing him a huge trauma. At this moment, he was lying on the ground, bleeding profusely from his body. Luffy, Luffy. Beside Jinbei, the tall Empress looked at them and kept calling. Empress Boya. Hancock. With a tall figure of 191 centimeters, he has an excellent figure. A head of long black hair, soft and shiny. The slightly wide forehead is smooth and flat, the dark blue eyes, the corners of the eyes are slender and delicate, the almond eyes reveal a little coldness, the bridge of the nose is high, the nose is small, the lips are so soft that there is no wrinkle, and there is a pair of snake-shaped golden earrings under the ears. Wearing a purple cheongsam, the hem of the cheongsam is opened very high, directly reaching the root of the thigh, and the graceful figure is unobstructed. Boya Hancock, the Empress of the Daughter Kingdom, deserves to be called the most beautiful woman in the world. She is indeed unbelievably beautiful and impeccably beautiful. Regardless of appearance or figure, they are all superb. Hoo. At this moment, Jinbei took a deep breath, looked up at the Empress, and said, "Hancock, now we must find a ship to take Luffy away for treatment, otherwise, Luffy's life may be in danger." The Empress turned around, looked at the sea, bit her fingers anxiously, and scanned a large circle, but she didn't see a single ship. Jinbei, all the boats were taken away by Di Luo. Now, there are no boats on the sea, and my boat can't get through either. Crack. At this moment, Akainu fell to the ground in the distance, covered in magma, and he stared closely at Luffy, who was protected by Jinbei, full of killing intent. Roger's son has been put to death, the root of the crime has been removed. And the leader of the Revolutionary Army, the son of the dragon, and the evil seedling, I must also pull it out here. Akainu said flatly, then walked towards Jinbei step by step. I, Akainu, can't do anything to that monster Di Luo, can't I do anything to you, a mere Luffy? Akainu. The Empress gritted her teeth, and looked at Akainu who was approaching step by step. She couldn't make Akainu face to face. After all, he is still the 7 warlords of the sea now, it's not that she cares about the 7 warlords of the sea. Instead, as 7 warlords of the sea, her daughter Congress is protected by the Marine government. Now, if she openly confronts Marine, daughter country will definitely be implicated, and maybe she will be attacked by Marine. This is something she absolutely does not want to see. Papa Papa. Papa Papa. Papa Papa. At this moment, many pirates led by Marco ran over and stood in front of Akainu. Marco stared at Akainu, with blue flames burning all over his body, and said, "Akainu, you can't go any further, we will never allow you to hurt Luffy. That's right, we will never let you hurt Ace's brother. He is the one Ace desperately protects, so we must protect him to the end." Boom. Akainu's fist was burning with thick magma. He looked at Marco and the others and said, "A group of pirates talking about loyalty here is really disgusting. Since you want to die, I will fulfill you. Although, I didn't intend to let you go. Today, any pirates who invade Marineford, I will kill you. You guys who are full of sins are not qualified to live." Akainu. Faced with Akainu's remarks, many pirates were furious and looked at him with gritted teeth. This is one of the culprits who killed Whitebeard, so they can't wait to kill him soon. Akainu, you are so capable, why don't you dare to attack Di Luo? If you have his kind of ability, I can let you go, but you, do you have it? Jinbei, who was blocked behind, looked up at the Empress, and said, Hancock, Marco and the others can only temporarily block a Kainu, but they will never be able to block it for too long. I know that you have difficulties, and you cannot directly attack a Kainu. But, if you want to save Luffy now, there is only one way. The Empress looked at Jinbei and said, Jinbei, what do you mean? Go and beg Di Luo, now, only he can save Luffy. If Luffy falls into a Kainu's hands, he will definitely die. Now, only if Luffy boards that battleship, can he survive. The Empress rolled her eyes, with a horrible wound on her chest, Luffy, who was already in a severe coma. Then he looked into the distance, a Kainu who had already started a head-to-head confrontation with Marco and others. Wait for me. She gritted her teeth, turned around, and rushed directly to the huge battleship. At this moment, Di Luo pinned the Tiank between the belts. Behind him, the black coat fluttered in the wind, and his brass-like muscles were particularly conspicuous. He stands on a huge warship. Captain, what's your plan next? Di Luo asked behind him, looking at him with eagle eyes. Well, don't worry, there are 2 people here, I'm a little interested. Di Luo smiled and said. Hawkeye was silent for a moment, and said, before that, Captain, can you return my black knife to me? Oh. Di Luo turned around and looked at him. You, still want this knife? Hawkeye looked at Di Luo and said very seriously. Captain, this knife has a very special meaning to me. Moreover, I can't fully reach the realm you mentioned now, so this knife is still useful for my combat power. Besides, even if in the future, I can really reach the state of no sword you mentioned, then this sword should also have its destination, instead of just disappearing. Its existence is itself a kind of inheritance. Quote. Okay, since you've said that. Di Luo raised his hand, pressed his palm down, and thought. Buzz. In the meantime, the entire huge battleship splint squirmed for a while, and the next moment, a pitch-black sword slowly rose. Di Luo held the hilt of the recondensed black knife, Yi raised his hand and threw it to Hawkeye. Thank you, Captain. Snapped. Hawkeye raised his hand, caught the black knife, stroked the blade, smiled slightly, then inserted it into the sword belt behind his back, and carried the black knife on his back again. Shut up. At this moment, a graceful figure galloped close to the ground at an extremely fast speed, and in the blink of an eye, it rushed to the huge battleship from a distance. Looking at this person, Di Luo smiled. It seems that there is no need to go to find her by herself. Hoo. Wow. Soon, the figure rushed over from the square, jumped onto the huge battleship, and landed firmly on the steel battleship. Di Luo. The Empress landed in front of Di Luo and shouted. When she saw the eagle eyes behind Di Luo, she was a little surprised, but she quickly regained her composure. Di Luo looked at her, with one hand on the hilt of the Tiank sword at his waist, and said with a smile, Empress, Boya Hancock. Why are you looking for me? The Empress looked at Di Luo, and was shocked by the powerful aura he exuded, and didn't respond for a while. However, she quickly thought of Luffy's current situation, and still forcibly calmed down, gritted her teeth and said. Mr. Di Luo, I hope you can save Luffy, now, only you can save him from a Kainu. Why? Di Luo said indifferently. What? The Empress wondered. Di Luo looked at her. Empress, what do you think Luffy's life and death have to do with me? I have nothing to do with him, so why should I save him? Besides, his grandfather is still standing over there, so it won't be my turn to be an outsider, right? If it's because he's going to die, I'm going to save him. Then you underestimate me too much. In this world, how many people will face death at any moment, do I have to save them? Empress, please understand, I am a pirate, not a saint. Quote. The Empress looked at the man with a flat expression. In front of her, the man who still didn't have any fluctuations in expression changed a little bit. However, she still looked at Di Luo and said stubbornly, then what do you want to do before you are willing to make a move? I know that this is just a matter of effort for you. It's easy to do, it's a matter of offending Marine, why should first offend Marine because of an outsider? At that time, I won't get any benefits, and I'll be in trouble. Di Luo said lightly, paused, looked at the Empress, and continued, however, if you are willing to join my pirate group, then, as my crew, it is not difficult to grant her a request. Join your pirate group. The Empress said, I am now 7 warlords of the sea, protected by the marine government, why should I join you? Marine government. Di Luo sneered. You trust them? The Empress was silent, and finally said, at least, they can protect my country, so that my people can live in peace. Hehe, Marine protects your people to live in peace. Di Luo bluntly said, that's because you are still useful. Empress. In the future, once there is something in Marine that can ban you, at that time, your so-called Shichibukai will become completely useless. To put it bluntly, you are just using Marine as a facade or a tool. Isn't it the best proof that you are summoned to deal with Whitebeard this time? To put it bluntly, you Shichibukai are some kind of tool that can be undone at any time. Your existence is a threat to the Marine government. Just watch, once your value is no longer there, you will become a threat to them again, facing the pursuit of Marine again. At that time, you still can't protect your country. Quote. Then if I join you, it will be different. The Empress said with a cold smile. Of course it's different. Di Luo smiled and said, Empress, the reason why you are valued by me is not because of your peerless looks. If I want to find a vase, I can find it anywhere. The reason why I tell you this is because what I value is that you have extraordinary aptitudes like Hawkeye. In fact, you also have the peerless aptitude not to lose to Hawkeye, but you just don't know it. Quote. You mean, Conqueror's Haki? The Empress looked at Di Luo in surprise. No. Di Luo said, it's a qualification that far surpasses Conqueror's. Empress, follow me, I can develop your potential and make you have absolute power. Only then can you truly protect what you want to protect. Things, not others. And, join my pirate group, your country will be protected by me, and you can still believe in my strength. I believe that as long as you have my protection, no one will dare to attack your daughter's country. Notice. Boa Hancock. At this moment, the eagle eye with the black knife on his back also opened his mouth and said, your aptitude is indeed very high, and Captain Di Luo does have his strengths. Follow the captain, maybe you can really learn more. Moreover, the Marine government is indeed untrustworthy. Maybe they will take action in the near future. After all, we are just pirates. Marine is always unreliable. If you want to truly protect your country, you should be prepared. Joining the 4 emperors, may be right. Quote. After hearing Hawkeye's words, the Empress fell silent. It doesn't matter that Hawkeye is alone. But she is different. Behind her, there is another country, although it is only a small country. However, that is her sustenance, and she will never allow her daughter country to suffer any harm. Every step she takes must consider the daughter country behind her. In fact, it's not like she doesn't know anything. Recently, she also heard some rumors that the Marine government seems to be secretly developing a powerful biological weapon. Once the Marine government really develops that powerful weapon, perhaps, there is really no need for their Shichibukai to exist. At that time, Marine may really cancel the name of Shichibukai and let them become pirates again. And at that time, Marine could attack her without any scruples. Once she makes any mistakes, the daughter country behind her will definitely fall into war again, and there are many people who covet her daughter country. The Empress is very clear about her own strength, above Vice Admiral, below Admiral. What's more, among Marine, there are a lot of masters, and some of them are special, although they don't have much reputation, they are not weaker than her in the slightest. Now she has no chance of winning against any admiral. With such strength, it is unrealistic to want to protect the daughter country in the long run. Without Shichibukai's name, her daughter's Congress is threatened. Thinking of this, the Empress looked up at Di Luo. And the man in front of him was the man who made martial Marine compromise for him, and even made that Akainu lose his temper. He definitely has the strength to protect her daughter country in the future troubled times. Thinking of this, the Empress looked at Di Luo and said, can I trust you? Believe it or not, it's up to you. It's unrealistic for me to tell you to believe me now. You don't believe it yourself, do you? Di Luo walked to the bow, looked at the messy Marineford below, and said. Then, he looked back at the Empress, smiled, and said, however, you can try to trust me. The Empress took a deep breath, looked at Di Luo finally and said, okay, I promise to be your crew member, but I have one condition, if you are incapable of protecting my country, I will quit at any time. Okay. Then you can watch it. Di Luo nodded and said. He still has this confidence. With his current abilities, if he can't even protect a mere daughter country, then he doesn't have to be ashamed to be the emperor of the sea. Just find a corner to eat and wait for death. Captain. At this moment, the Empress found that in the distance, a Kainu had broken through the defense line of Whitebeard's remnants, and she spoke anxiously. Di Luo looked into the distance and said, "Don't worry." After finishing speaking, Di Luo took a step forward, and his figure flashed and disappeared directly at the bow of the ship. The other side. Boom. A Kainu burst out with powerful force, and punched several Whitebeard remnants flying in front of him. Among the ruins in the distance, where Marco and others were lying down, they were seriously injured. The blue flame on Marco's body was almost extinguished. They are still a bit too tender for the ruthless character of a Kainu. Son of the Dragon. A Kainu was covered in magma. He stared at Jinbei and Luffy who fell on the ground, and said. The root of evil must be pulled out, the world does not need people like you. Let me personally send you to hell and join your brother Ace. Boom. The next moment, Akainu's body was boiling with magma, and his entire arm turned into a big hand of lava. Successful. With a leap, he jumped directly into the air, then raised his fist high, and slammed it fiercely towards Luffy on the ground. Brush. Just as his fist was about to drop, a figure suddenly appeared. Boom. A big hand clenched a fist and slammed into Akainu's lava fist. In an instant, magma splashed everywhere. What? Akainu was startled at first, then looked at the person opposite, and said with some shock and anger, "It's you." Boom. The pitch-black fist lashed out, sweeping across, sending Akainu flying. Clatter. Di Luo, wearing a black military coat swaying in the wind, landed, looked at Akainu who was blown away, and said, "This man, you can't move yet." Touch. Akainu landed, then looked up at Di Luo, and gritted his teeth. "Guy, what do you want to do? Now, Marshal Sengoku has bestowed on you the title of Emperor, aren't you satisfied?" Ridiculous. Di Luo looked at Akainu and said disdainfully. Sengoku gave me the title of Emperor. Akainu, are you too stupid, or Sengoku is too naive? If it wasn't for my absolute strength, do you think Sengoku would have said that in order to damage Marine's reputation? After all, it's because I'm strong enough. Quote. You. Akainu was furious. Why, do you still want to fight with me? Di Luo looked at Akainu, raised his fist at him, and said calmly, "Don't say I won't give you a chance, this time, I can fight you with my hands. Come on, do you want to give it a try?" Akainu squinted his eyes, he possessed advanced knowledge. At this moment, he could clearly feel the terrifying, abyss-like power in Di Luo. Just looking at it makes people feel scared. Although not reconciled, Akainu never did anything. He will not make a move if he is not sure about fighting. If he does, the only one who will be injured will be himself. Since you don't make a move, then I will take them away. With a wave of Di Luo's hands, he disarmed his black fists and returned to normal again. He turned around, looked at Jinbei, and said, "Hexia, can you still move?" Ah. Jinbei struggled a bit, unable to stand up. Akainu's blow almost pierced his entire body, the injury was too serious. Hoo. Jinbei gasped and said, "No, Di Luo first, I don't care, but please, take Luffy away." Pushing Luffy out from under him, Jinbei said. After saying this, his eyes turned white and he passed out. Once the tight string of a person relying on belief is loosened, this will be the end. He can last until now, all in one breath. What a loving and righteous sea man. Di Luo looked at Jinbei who was completely unconscious, and said, he valued this man even more. Then, Di Luo raised his hand with a wave. Buzz buzz. A steel plate flew over, wrapping Jinbei and Luffy up. Then, just take them away. Along the way, wherever Di Luo passed, no matter if it was a marine or a pirate, they gave way one after another. All the marines saw this scene, but there was nothing they could do. Not even Admiral Akainu can stop the new emperor of the sea, let alone them. Under the eyes of many marines, Di Luo directly brought Jinbei and Luffy back to Tianmen. In the face of absolute strength, these people dare not fart. As for the three top players like Admiral and Sengoku, they dare not go all out, and there is also a reason for taking Marineford into consideration. If all the top combat forces come together and really fight, Marineford may suffer a devastating blow. And, there's Garp staring not far away. This old man is in a rage right now. Sengoku is also not good and overdone. Crack. Di Luo walked through the air and flew back to the Tianmen. Put the steel plate rolled with Jinbei on the plywood. Luffy. The Empress ran over quickly, squatted down, looked at the two people who were seriously injured and unconscious on the deck by Di Luo, and then turned to look at Di Luo. Captain. Di Luo looked at the Empress and shook her head. Don't look at me, I don't know how to do medicine. Then what should we do? If this continues, Luffy will die. The Empress was a little anxious. At this moment, Luffy's breathing was a little shallow, and she really couldn't delay it. Don't worry, he won't die, he should have almost let them out. Di Luo said. Captain, what do you mean? The Empress asked. Di Luo walked to the bow and looked at the deep sea. Not long ago, he felt a submarine appearing in the ocean. This submarine has been lurking in the ocean and has not come up. If Di Luo remembers correctly, this one should have the title of Death Surgeon, Trafalgar Law. In the original plot, he saved Luffy. This, it seems, will not change now. Now, the reason why Luo didn't come out of the water should be that he felt the changes in Marineford and dared not come out to the sea. After all, the metal in the entire Marineford has been requisitioned by Di Luo, and his little submarine dare not show up easily. Now, Di Luo looked at the depths of the ocean, closed his eyes and sensed carefully, and soon, he felt the specific position of the submarine. Brush. Di Luo opened his eyes and looked at the sea. Then, he reached out to the sea. Boom boom boom. The next moment, a powerful magnetic force manipulation ability was activated, and an invisible force expanded in his palm. The powerful force directly formed a huge uzumaki on the sea surface. A moment later, as the sea water churned, soon, an iconic yellow submarine was pulled out from under the sea water by Di Luo. Bang! The submarine surfaced, splashing a wave. The yellow submarine parked next to Di Luo's Tianmen looks like a little yellow puppy standing in front of an adult African elephant, it is so small. The gap is that big. Crunch. A moment later, the door of the submarine opened. One is carrying a long sword, wearing a furry winter hat with leopard Madara points, eyes with specially personalized black eye bags, 2 small gold earrings on each ear, and a beard on the chin. A man with a black tattoo similar to that on his clothes between the back of his hand and his elbow stepped out of the submarine. Behind him, there is a big white bear Babo in clothes. Captain, what should I do? What should I do? The big white bear said. Shut up, Beppo. Oh, sorry. Luo reached out to stop the big white bear, then stepped out of the submarine, looked up at the giant battleship in front of him, and said seriously, Di Luo is in charge, we shouldn't have any hatred, right? No. Di Luo looked at Luo below and said. Then the head of Di Luo, why did you pull me out of the sea? This is not a good place now. Brush. I'll give you something. Di Luo said, then raised his hand. Crunch. The steel plate wrapped around Luffy and Jinbei flew up, and then fell directly towards Luo's submarine. These two people, leave it to you. Di Luo said. Touch. Looking at Luffy and Jinbei who fell on his splint, Luo's expression moved, but he still said, Di Luo is in charge, why do you think I will save them? Di Luo grinned, to save or not to save, the choice is yours. You cannot save them, and then throw them into the sea. This has nothing to do with me. I just handed them over to you. Captain. Captain. Several people stepped out of the cabin behind Trafalgar Law. Trafalgar Law narrowed his eyes, and finally said, carry them in and start treating them. Yes. Captain. Don't let these pirates run away, kill them all today. In the distance, a Kainu's roar sounded. We have paid so much. This battle cannot end like this. Marines, follow me and kill all these evil people. After all. Boom. Akainu took the brunt of the attack, launching an attack on the remaining Whitebeard pirates. Akainu directly killed a large group of pirates with one punch, and he wanted to carry out a genocide massacre of all Whitebeard remnants. Boom boom boom. As Akainu killed batch after batch of pirates. Yeah, today, our Marineford almost fell, it's all these pirates. Pirate. Follow Sakazuki Admiral, kill them, and drive out all the pirates. I have to say, Akainu really has the charisma. With his actions, Marine began to waver. Moreover, Akainu's psychological endurance is really strong. This made the Marines who had felt hopeless and decadent before, under the leadership of Akainu, actually ignite their fighting spirit again. Then the bloody cleansing of the remaining pirates began again. Gradually, Marine began to regain her confidence and cast all her anger on the pirates who were still alive. Start chasing pirates everywhere. Ah. And the pirates, naturally, would not sit still and started to resist one after another. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. Sensing a loud noise in the distance, Trafalgar Law looked at the two people who had been transported into the cabin, and said, Akainu, this guy is already crazy, it's not suitable to stay here for long, we should go. Even so, he was still standing on the boat, looking into the distance. Captain, where are we going next? Hawkeye asked behind Di Luo. Di Luo smiled, stood on the battleship, one hand supported the sky tower around his waist, watched the broken Marineford start another big battle, and said, don't worry for now, there is still a good show to watch in this war, and there is one person who hasn't appeared. Red-haired. Hawkeye said flatly, from the point of view of time, he should be here. Di Luo smiled slightly. It seems that it is not easy to sail the sea alone. The Empress, on the other hand, looked at the yellow submarine below, feeling a little worried. Although she knew that it was the best choice to send the two of Luffy to Trafalgar Law's ship. However, she was still worried about Luffy's state. You seem worried about Luffy. Standing on the battleship, Di Luo watched the Empress look at the submarine in Trafalgar Law not far away, showing a worried look. Then, he turned his head to look at the Marineford battlefield in the distance, and said casually. Captain. Beside him, dressed in a purple cheongsam, the tall Empress shook her head, looked away, and said. Luffy used to be kind to me. Not long ago, he helped my two younger sisters, so I can't do nothing. Is it about celestial dragons? Di Luo asked casually. Celestial dragons. At the mention of this name, the Empress couldn't help trembling, with a hint of horror on her face, and even more resentment. Gritting her teeth, she nodded. Yes. She didn't elaborate, and Di Luo didn't ask. After all, celestial dragons is the pain of her life, unless one day celestial dragons can become extinct. Otherwise, she couldn't let go of the humiliation that celestial dragons gave them. Di Luo glanced at the Empress' expression, it seemed that her hatred for celestial dragons was very deep. But think about it. Di Luo looked into the distance, and said lightly, celestial dragons, what is the secret? Why can this kind of idiot become the world's nobleman and surpass everyone? One day, I will personally reveal this secret. Hearing Di Luo's words, the Empress looked at him suddenly with a hint of disbelief. Nowadays, most people are terrified of celestial dragons and stay away from them. Di Luo, why do you say that? You know, although the celestial dragons are incompetent, they have the protection of the world government, under their flag, and there are many powerful people who are loyal to them. 5 elders, I am these mysterious guys, are inseparable from celestial dragons. Celestial dragons, there is indeed a secret. The Empress said after taking a deep breath. She didn't say much, and seemed very reluctant to mention this race. Oh. Di Luo nodded, the Empress didn't want to talk, so he didn't ask much. He knew that although the Empress had been enslaved, she actually knew very little about the secrets of celestial dragons, not necessarily more than Di Luo. It was Hawkeye who said, celestial dragons, it seems to be related to the missing history. The missing history. Di Luo said, well, I'm a little curious about this. However, the missing history is all recorded in ancient characters. If you want to know the lost history, Captain, I'm afraid you need to find someone who can interpret the ancient characters. Eagle Eye said. Di Luo nodded. Don't worry about it. Anyway, there are quite a few people who study ancient texts. Let's talk about it later when we find the lost ancient texts. Speaking of celestial dragons, whether it is the Empress or Hawkeye, they actually know very little. After all, there is something about the celestial dragons, and a history that was missing, that none of them knew about, and Marine deliberately concealed it, making it even less known. Then, Di Luo changed the subject and said, Hawkeye, what do you think of Luffy? Hawkeye thought for a while and said, Although I haven't dealt with Luffy much, from what I have seen and heard, I feel that he is a capable person and he will definitely be able to make a difference in the future. Captain, you'd better don't underestimate him. Oh. Di Luo smiled and said. Being judged by you like this, it seems that he really has his advantages. Well, I'm looking forward to how far he can grow. Boom. Boom. While the three of Di Luo were chatting. In Marineford Square in the distance, without the leader Whitebeard, the remaining pirates were completely vulnerable. A large number of Marines, under the leadership of Akainu, slaughtered pirates crazily. Ah! Ah! For a moment, screams resounded throughout the square. As for Di Luo, he just watched all this calmly, and he had no intention of making a move. Soon, a confused person wandering on the battlefield appeared in Di Luo's field of vision. This is a teenager in a marine uniform, with pink hair and a green hood. At this moment, Kobe felt the large-scale and terrifying atmosphere of death, and felt that many of his companions and familiar people in the marine headquarters were dying one by one. Kebi was in extreme pain. At this moment, under the leadership of Akainu, everyone's eyes were red-eyed, and the air was filled with a strong smell of blood. Kebi held his head, as if in pain. Di Luo looked at him carefully. A moment later, Kebi suddenly rushed in front of Akainu, stretched out his arms, blocked the tall Admiral Akainu with a small body, and shouted, "Come here." This moment, everyone was shocked. The Marines were shocked, the pirates were also shocked, Belumbo who was beside Kebi was shocked, and Marco and others who were hunted down were also shocked. Even Kizaru, who was fishing in the distance, was shocked, and Sengoku and Garp were surprised. A small ordinary marine, unexpectedly stood up at this time. Huh. The hard-hearted Akainu was also surprised, looking at the little marine in front of him. Akainu looked at the little marine in front of him, a little surprised. Although Kebi was trembling all over, he still faced Akainu and roared with tears in his eyes. Enough is enough, don't fight anymore. The war is over. If you continue to slaughter, you are not eliminating evil. You are wasting your life. Today, too many people have lost their lives. If the fight continues, more people will die. Every soldier has a family waiting for them to go home. Our goal has clearly been achieved. Whitebeard is dead, Ace is dead. Why do you want to kill the pirates who are at the end of the road? Obviously the war is over, but now they still don't stop, chasing and killing pirates, ignoring those Marines who are obviously still alive. Continue to add unnecessary victims, so the fallen victims will die like fools. As soon as the words came out, Sengoku paused, and Garp looked at Kebi. However, Akainu was not moved at all, looked at Kebi in front of him, and said, "Who are you, you guy? You wasted a few seconds of my time, Marine, you don't need soldiers with dishonest views. Marine's justice is absolute, and anyone who doubts it will be fooled." After all, Akainu raised his lava fist and threw it directly at Kebi. Kebi looked at the fist swinging towards him, and closed his eyes in despair, but he didn't regret it. When, at this critical moment, a long knife flew across the air, directly blocking Akainu's fist. Akainu was taken aback, and looked behind Kebi. It was a man with red hair, 3 scratches on his face, a white shirt that was only half-buttoned, a long black cape, brown cropped pants with patterns, and flip-flops at his feet. This person is the red-haired Shanks, one of the 4 emperors. Red hair. Akainu looked at the person who blocked his attack, and said with a condensed expression. Touch. At this moment, Kebi couldn't hold on any longer, and fell down abruptly. Young sailor, you've done a good job. The redhead said after repelling Akainu with a sword. Red hair pirates, here they come. Yo, it finally appeared. In the distance, Di Luo looked at this scene with a flat expression. Shanks glanced at Luffy, who was taken away by the yellow submarine, and took a deep breath. Then, he chatted for a while with Buggy, who was hiding aside with a large group of pirates who escaped from Impel Down, waiting for an opportunity, and talked about the old days. Then slowly walked towards the already dilapidated Marineford Square, under the watchful eyes of all the pirates. Marine, said. This battle is over, whether it's Marines or pirates, you've all paid a huge price. Continuing the fight will only increase unnecessary casualties. This war should be over. Quote. Ka. Having said that, Shanks slowly pulled out the sword griffin from his waist, looked at the crowd and said, "If there is anyone who is not enough, come on, next, let us be opponents." At this time, all the crew of Red Hair Pirates appeared one after another. Deputy Captain of the Red Hair Pirates, Ben Beckman. Sniper, Usopp. Chef, Lucky Lou. Ship Doctor, Deeg. Navigator, Bendick Snake. Musicians, Bank Pinch, Mondstadt Monkey. Combatants, Lime Jones, Roar Gab. Everyone is a famous big pirate, the strongest of the strongest. At this moment, all the Marines were stunned, and they couldn't help but take a step back. At this time, fighting against the red-haired black bandits is a fatal. Even the three admirals are silent, which is enough to show the strength of the Red Hair Pirates. At this time, Shanks turned around, looked at the people standing on the huge battleship on the coast, and said, "The new four emperors, Di Luo, have made Marineford so troublesome, won't you be satisfied with the four emperors recognized by Marine?" In fact, from the very beginning, Shanks didn't pay attention to other people. What he really cared about was the new emperor of the sea, Di Luo. On the way here, he has already seen the strength of the new emperor. To be honest, even he is not sure that he can win this person. At this moment, Shanks looked at Di Luo as if he was facing a big enemy. He didn't know if this guy would make a move. If there was a real fight, it would be hard to say whether he would win or lose, but the entire Marineford was absolutely unstoppable. This is not the result he wanted. However, if he really had to make a move, he would fight without any scruples. Di Luo supported the Tionk on his waist, looked at Shanks, and said with a smile. The red-haired Shanks is indeed the man with the deepest hidden strength and the scariest among the four emperors. He has such aura. This aura makes me want to have a good fight with you. I also want to let's see, among us, who is more powerful. Captain, don't underestimate the red hair, this man is very strong. Behind Di Luo, Hawkeye said. Well, I understand, I've never underestimated this man, just wait a moment, I'll come as soon as I go. Di Luo smiled slightly. After saying this, then, boom. Di Luo directly rose into the air, his figure flashed, and the next moment, he landed firmly in front of Shanks. Looking at the man in front of him who was much shorter than himself and held the not-so-famous sword griffin, but exuded a powerful aura, Di Luo smiled slightly and said, "Redhead, Shanks." Shanks also looked at Di Luo, and said seriously, "Di Luo." Di Luo grinned. "A strong man like you, I really want to fight against you, let's have a good fight." Boom. As soon as Di Luo's words fell, Shanks' body erupted with a powerful aura, and his whole body was like an abyss that could not see the bottom. Behind him, all the crew members also became serious. 3 Admiral, Sengoku, Garp, and so on Marine the former, all looked at Di Luo seriously. What on earth does this man want to do? Thanks for watching.